Thank you for joining us again and welcome back to our channel. If you are joining for the first time, I appreciate your time. We're going to be looking at Djibouti today, a critical country in the continent of Africa. Djibouti is at the core of the United States of America's new strategy. Why am I saying this? China is there looking at how the United States of America is about to engage. The current president of the US, Mr. Donald Trump, and the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, have all over and over reiterated that Djibouti is the most critical area in the continent of Africa, and the United States of America is about to engage, and Djibouti is bracing. With regards to Djibouti, it's the most important strategic located country in the continent of Africa, and that's why we want to look at why this particular area is about to experience the new tension in the continent of Africa. So let me give you some context as we dive into strategic analysis. So without any more delay, let's just look at the first aspect with regards to this particular episode. The Project 2025, the alleged blueprint for President Donald Trump's focuses on only one African country. Djibouti is smaller than West Virginia. Djibouti has a population of over just 1 million people and a few natural resources. Nevertheless, Project 2025 authors first about the United States of America's deteriorating position in Djibouti. Likewise, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has stressed the need to work on countering China's influence in Djibouti. Like I said, Djibouti is a strategic location. The US's government is preparing at the moment to review that particular relationship, which is actually tense so far. Djibouti is critical because of its location, situated near the Gulf of Aden. Around 1/3 of ship traffic passes by on its way to the Suez Canal. To protect those ships, Djibouti hosts military bases from China, France, Italy, Japan, Saudi Arabia, and the United States of America. Until recently, Djibouti-American relations were good, but when Djibouti refused to let the United States of America attack the Houthis from their territory, the foreign policy established lost its temper and blamed Chinese influence. It is important to understand that China's presence in that particular country is causing headache for the United States of America, and Djibouti, as a critical location in the continent of Africa, is about to experience the wrath of the United States of America. The question here is, will Djibouti stand its grounds and engage its strategic partners like China that it has to an extent? China has established itself in the country. Looking at Donald Trump's posture and his global condescending approach in terms of strategic relationship with countries across the continent of Africa, at this moment, Djibouti is bracing on how the U.S. foreign policy will impact that particular location, and Djibouti especially. Djibouti's refusal is not a pivot to China, but part of its balanced foreign policy, neutrality with states and also aggressions with non-state actors. By maintaining neutrality, Djibouti can host military bases from multiple countries, some of which are each other's foe. As long as those bases are used against non-state pirates like pirates and also terrorist location with that particular area, there is no issue with regards to Djibouti's own concern. But any force against states or quasi-state actors like the Houthis is strictly prohibited. Rather than create unnecessary tension with China, the United States of America should focus on its shared interest of protecting maritime traffic. Doing so well will enhance security and diffuse tension between those two great powers. Why am I saying this? It is important that with regards to the United States of America's current posture, getting into the country of Djibouti might be crazy in terms of their perspective on global issues. Like I've said, Marco Rubio have always said that the United States foreign policy will be based on US's own interests. I wonder how that's going to play. Djibouti is a critical location where this particular condescending approach in terms of foreign policy that we are about to see in the continent of Africa, or we are experiencing already, Djibouti will be that center where I think China will again come out clear to also indicate to the United States of America that it's about time that they continue to speak. Djibouti is so important that the United States cannot ignore. Looking at the Project 2025, looking at that particular document, Djibouti is featured there over and over, and the current Secretary of State Marco Rubio cannot emphasize the importance of this particular African nation. The question here that we need to understand is why Djibouti matters. As the Somali civil war dragged on, going back, looking at the chaos that reigned with regards to the difficulties at that particular time. To secure livelihood, many Somalis restored to regards to their own engagement in around the 2000s, as we all saw in the news. In 2002, the United States of America purchased Camp Lemonnier from Djibouti's former colonizer, France, establishing America's first and only permanent military base in the continent of Africa at the time. They were soon joined by two others. Germany established a military presence at the French base in 2008. Japan established its only foreign military base in 2009, and Italy opened its first foreign military base in 2013. There were no issues with any of those military bases until China opened its first foreign military base in 2017. Why is China's presence in this particular location causing headache? It's about rivalry, like we all have seen. China is one of those powers that has decided that it will engage the continent of Africa from a strategic point of view, looking at all soft powers that are available. The United States of America's current posture will not lie low with regards to why Djibouti is at the moment a critical role with regards to US's influence in the region. With the United States being kicked out of Niger, Burkina Faso, all of these countries in West Africa, as France left in shame in other ways. You would have imagined that the US should be patching up its relationship with very strategic partners in this region. However, considering the Project 2025 on how the United States observed Djibouti, it can't live without this particular country as a result of its most important geopolitical foe, it's having a base in that particular country. Djibouti will live to see the United States engagement from a different perspective, as we all are looking at what's going to be happening in the next 4 years. If you look at China in Djibouti, just like other countries in Djibouti, China's main interest is to protect shipping. In fact, before opening its base, the United States of America lobbied China to provide more assistance in the region. Djibouti is also important for Chinese Belt and Road Initiative as a key maritime stop and a new railway sort of point out in line to Ethiopia's capital Addis Ababa that connects the countries. China is the largest investor in Djibouti, with a total of over $14 billion in infrastructure being built and a huge sum for an economy that is only worth about $4 billion. But for the American foreign policy establishment, China is not just a rival, but an existential threat with regards to their own perspective. If the Chinese took over the port in Djibouti, then the consequences could be significant. According to General Thomas Wemzoza in 2018 that he mentioned, China's military base will become a platform to protect powers across the continent and its also waters. General Stephen Townsend, based on my research, told the American Armed Service Committee in 2021. Both generals said that China will build more military bases in Africa, a prediction that has not yet come to fruition. With the outbreak of the Israeli ongoing Gaza and also Yemen Houthi began blockade against the blood shipping affiliates with Israel. After Djibouti's denial, the United States of America request to use the footage and also against the Houthis. Djibouti permanent U.S. strikes on the Al-Qaeda Yemen, that particular area. The United States of America's foreign policy establishment believed China was responsible. China interfering with the United States operation on its own base in Djibouti, said according to Rubin, senior fellow in that particular United States of America Institute for. According to Guleb Ahmed of the Middle East Institute, insisted that it is because of Chinese that the Djibouti government has refused to condemn the Houthis' attack on the maritime traffic. Why am I talking about this particular region? It's a complex story, as you all know. I'm trying to piece this together. Why Djibouti is a critical location. Djibouti alone is struggling to figure out itself, to identify its own self, looking at major powers that continue to drive this particular country. Djibouti do make some revenue from this particular region. However, it is important to know that Djibouti is maintaining its neutrality with regards to dealing with these major superpowers. Why? This is just so important. Let's take a look. While much has been changed in the Horn of Africa, Djibouti has consistently remained neutral. This led it attract foreign military bases from countries that have adversarial relationship with one another. Ironically, the neutrality permits states to use military force against non-state pariah like pirates and also other particular things in that region. For the United States of America, the Houthis are terrorists and should be treated the same as Al-Qaeda. But the Houthis in many ways operate as a state. They control most of Yemen's population area and include its capital, host diplomatic missions, and have economic relations with dozens of states. Rather than oppose the Houthis, Djibouti drew a line prohibiting the United States of America from carrying out operations from its own territory. But according to the United States of American foreign policy establishment, inaction means Djibouti is pro-Houthi. They point out that Djibutis have responsible or resupply Iranian vessels and also assist Houthi. Yet, the same things were also done for American vessels that attacked the Houthis, and also long as those attacks were done outside Djibouti's territory, no pro-Houthi government will allow such a policy. It is a dangerous game with regards to this particular region. Like I said, we all are observing what's going to happen with the next 4 years being so tense and Europe feeling the heat, the continent of Africa feeling the heat so far. Egypt is pushing back with regards to United States of American Gaza policy, and the South African government is also standing up to the United States of America. The United States of America Vice President slammed Germany recently, and we all see how the Ukrainian president was pressured in the middle of the global media in the United States of America's White House. These are critical times in the global community, and Africa is taking a firm stand, and Djibouti is about to experience why it's dealing with one of the countries that thinks so far that it has to impose its will and also its interest on every particular nation. This is a dangerous game. Rather than accept Djibouti's position, foreign policy experts have sought to escalate tension, blaming Djibouti for being pro-Houthi and also pro-China. Hoping to find a more reliable partner, many propose that the United States of America recognize and work with Somaliland instead. Somaliland is an unrecognized state that asserted its independence from Somalia in 1991. Close to Yemen and next Somalia, it seems Somaliland offers everything. Djibouti has to also string attached. So to point out, Project 2025 recommended that the recognition of Somaliland statehood as a hedge against the United States of America deteriorating policy in Djibouti. But recognizing Somaliland would not provide the security American hopes for. The Horn of Africa has a delicate balance of power, with tensions between Ethiopia and Somalia, and recently revolved. America's recognition of the Somaliland would threaten the delicate peace in that particular region. In addition, while Somaliland is far more stable than Somalia, clean warfare has also been to an extent ongoing in eastern regions for the last 2 years, finding that the relations in the region are often fluid. While China supports Somalia unity, this might change if Somaliland was recognized by more countries. With China as the largest investor in Africa, Somaliland might be or might want to work with China. In the end, all Americans could be left with is a more unstable Horn region. This is a complex situation as I continue to piece it together. The United States of America thinks that Djibouti is on the side of China, or Djibouti on the side of Houthi, but it's a complex situation, and Djibouti to an extent is continuing to realize that its current policy of neutrality to an extent may not work in several ways. Djibouti is a critical country in the continent of Africa, dealing with these major powers that have unbalanced interests, that have individual interests, that want to drive their foreign policy in a furious way that will never undermine or recognize Djibouti itself. These are critical times in the continent of African history. Djibouti represents a rare opportunity for the United States of America. It is the only country that hosts both American and Chinese military bases mere kilometers apart. While the two countries are largely adversaries, their primary purpose in Djibouti is the same: securing maritime traffic. Recall, it was the United States of America that first asked for Chinese assistance to combat piracy in the Horn of Africa. When China opened a base, it was considered a move too far, with worries it would lead to more bases in Africa, which has not happened to date. Meanwhile, the United States of America has around 40 bases on the continent of Africa. Rather than creating tension, the United States of America should focus on cooperating with China. Doing so well requires representing Djibouti's neutrality, which also prohibits America from attacking other countries with regards to that particular location. While there is much for the United States of America, China disagree on ensuring that trade continues to flow uninterruptedly in the sharp priority for both countries. I want to thank you for watching. Let me know in the comment section what you think with regards to this particular location and why Djibouti is a critical country in the continent of Africa. Why Africa has stood up to its colonial powers and is asking questions. I want to thank you for watching. I will be looking forward to meeting you soon in our next episode. Have a good day. Bye-bye.